Hey everybody, so I got a Samsung dryer here. This guy, well, right here. It's basically headed to the scrap pile, but I wanted to tear it apart and show you guys a little bit of the breakdown of the common parts that we always replace on these guys, the common issues, and how to replace parts, how to test parts, things like that. So we'll get right into it and tear this guy apart. Okay, so just before we start, I'm just gonna let you guys know I'm in a warehouse right now, so that's why it's so noisy in the background. There's a forklift running around and a bunch of guys dollying things around everywhere. So anyway, that's what that is. I'll try to talk up a little bit so you guys can hear me. So anyway, starting with Samsung, I always use my little ratchet wrench with the Phillips bit on it, because there's two screws right in the back here, one right there, right there. So we'll take those off and that'll let us get to that front panel. So to take the top off, you just slide it back and it will just pop right off. Put that out of the way. Now, maybe I'll get you guys a little closer here so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so there's 4 screws, just two there, that hold this front control panel on, and then that just lifts forward. Now, there's always a wire connection here, but this guy doesn't. So if you follow it back, actually, you know what? In this case, we're not necessarily going to need to do that. What we'll do is we'll just put this guy up here for now. So you can trace the wire back. This is a board right here. So you can trace the wire back to the board, take off the couple screws that hold this board on, and then undo the wiring for the console. Since we're not really going too much into it, I won't bother, getting rid of that. So anyway, this front panel has a couple screws, well, 4 across the front here. And then once you get these guys off, there's 2 screws inside the door that we'll need to take off. So we'll get these out of the way and take off these 2 that are inside. And the door's falling right off this thing. Holy cow. It's really been beat up. I'm gonna try to screw this door back on a little better just so it's not dangling there like that. Okay, so these are the 2 screws that I was talking about down here. Just take these 2 off. You don't have to take any of these guys off or anything like that. What you're going to want to watch is the panel's going to want to fall forward now. So maybe hold on to it, or maybe leave a screw up top here, not completely taken out. So we can take these screws out, close the door, and then take the upper screw completely out. So anyway, we'll close this door. Okay, now I'll show you guys how to take this panel off. Okay, so after all those screws come out, this will just fall forward. Now, there's a connection right here that goes to the door switch, I guess you'd call it. And it just lifts off these little tabs in the bottom, and this can come right out. So put that aside, and I'll show you guys in front of us. Okay, so I want to show you guys, I want to take out the whole drum. So we're going to have to dismantle this a little bit more than I originally figured. So basically we got a screw here, screw up here. There's also a screw holding on the board connected to this console piece. and then 2 on the opposite side here. And then this can come off. So watch when you're taking that piece off. They have these clips all along the front here. So I'll have to undo those and get the wiring out of those clips. This guy has a light switch right here, so you'll have to unhook that. Now this whole thing can move right to the back. We don't need to worry about disconnecting the wiring for that console or nothing like that. So that's kind of nice. So now there's 4 screws holding this bulkhead on. One on this side here, one just a little bit lower. You'll see them. It's very, very obvious as to which ones need to come out. So I'll get these out of the way. There's going to be one more screw that we're going to have to undo, and I'll show you guys which one that is. If you do this the same way, basically I'm doing it, it's really not a tough job at all, and you don't take off more than you actually need to take off. So I'll show you guys this lower screw here. Okay, so this is the vent here. So you're going to want to take this screw off right here. So this vent piece comes with this whole front piece when I take it off. So I'll take that screw out, and basically these little clips, you see that right there? So it's got these little notches that this whole front panel sits in, and there's 4 of them in the 4 corners. So you have to lift this whole panel up and then out. So I'll get that out of the way, and then we can take a look at getting that drum out. Okay, so I've taken off that panel and just turned it around. One more thing I forgot, there's a electrical connection on the right hand side that you have to disconnect before you take this guy off. So there's 2 rollers in the front, as you can see. A lot of the time, all this fuzz and hair and all that kind of fun stuff builds up behind these little clips, and from the roller riding on it, it will actually cut right through the shaft of these things. These guys aren't too bad, but you ever take this apart and find that, you know, spin these guys a little bit, see if they're worn out. If they're not, and they run pretty good like that, then take this clip off anyway, and be careful taking that clip off, because they get fairly brittle, and get all the fuzz and hair and everything off there. So take the wheel right off and dig out all the fuzz and behind it. That will save this roller and the shaft for a long time. Okay, so we'll get this guy out of the way, and we'll take that drum out. Okay, so when you get that out of the way, here is the housing, the blower housing. So you're going to want to definitely clean that out, because that's pretty gross. So you want to get all that lint and everything out of there. A lot of the times things will get stuck in between the little fins of this wheel, so make sure you spin it to clean that guy out. You can take off, you know, these couple screws just to get in there a little better. It doesn't give you much of a advantage, but it'll let you get in there just a little bit better. So that's not great. Wow, all that lint built up, and that's the heater housing right there. So I'm going to try to take that belt off. You guys can see it in the back there. It's pretty tough to show somebody how to take it off, because everything's so tight, but I'll get that off there, and then I'll take that drum out. Okay, so this is the view with the drum out. I'm actually really happy that I picked this one, because look at that build-up. That is insane. And you can see inside that heater housing, right inside of here, See, some of that stuff is burnt. So it was, you know, starting to catch on fire already. It just hadn't gotten to the point where, you know, it lit the blanket of lint that is on top of that heater. That's crazy, because this heater is a lot like the heater in your oven. It gets very, very hot. So for that lint to be on top of there, wow, that's just asking for a fire. But anyway, so you have two rollers in the back there too. You should be able to see those big blue guys there. Okay, so those rollers in the back, you're gonna want to do the same thing. Clean all that fuzz off there, and then maybe I'll show you how to, oh man, get one of these little clips off. So I like to use this 90-degree pick. You gotta watch your hand that you don't stab yourself, but I find it easiest. So I just kind of put it under the clip and then pry it out. Sometimes just getting one side off will work. Sometimes you gotta take off two sides, and then it should just pop off. Thought it was gonna prove me wrong there. So you can take off all this hair and stuff that's in front of the wheel, then you should be able to pull that wheel off there. Holy cow. Okay, so yeah, clean all the stuff from inside that wheel. You want to take a piece of paper towel or something and run it through there too, just to clean out any of the, I don't know, metal filings or whatever inside that wheel. And then you're going to want to definitely take off all this stuff that's in behind here. You can just pick it off. You shouldn't need to take off that other clip that's back there, but it'll usually come off in a roll, kind of like that. Once you get these guys cleaned off, as long as they still spin smoothly, and you'll be able to tell. See, that guy spins not too bad. It's a little tight, but I bet you if I cleaned it, it would actually be quite a bit better. So I can put this clip back on there. Yeah, that's not too bad. Okay, so let me get my meter out here and I'll show you guys how to test some of these parts. Okay, so this is the heater housing. When you're cleaning, definitely clean off all this. See, it's starting to burn underneath this blanket. That's scary is what that is. Okay, so anyway, these are the heater connector right here, the red and the blue. So you just take one of those connectors off, whichever one wants to come off a little easier. Set it aside. Now put your meter on the lowest setting resistance ohm value. So my lowest is 200, and that's what I test most things on. So I'll just put this on top of here so you guys can see kind of what's going on there. All right, so meter leads, I always try to mostly, kind of color coded, even though red may be, power, blue may be power, it doesn't matter, but I put red to red, and I'll put black on top here. So you want to see about 10 ohms. That's about average for these guys. So that heater is good. Now we got a thermostat in behind that, so we'll pop one of those connectors off. So I just do one at a time, just so I don't get, the position of my connectors or anything screwed up. It would be pretty hard to, but I guess it could be possibly done. So we'll test this thermostat, and you should get very close to zero. So you know that this guy is good. So for this thing being so dusty and stuff inside, it looks so far like it would work really good. So pull one of these guys off here. Now this guy is like a thermal fuse, I guess. If it blows, then your machine will still run, but it will not heat. So we'll test this guy, and he comes back about 0.2. So we know he's okay. That is fantastic. Okay, so on these guys, this isn't like most Samsung dryers. This guy's actually got a couple more here. So this is thermostat. So this guy should be at 0, which it is. You guys can see the meter there or not. And there's a thermistor beside it. So this guy's going to be a heck of a lot more resistance. So I set my meter to 20,000 ohms, and it should be about 12 or so, something like that. So yeah, we're at 12.38 thousand ohms. So that guy's good too. So if you're having a heating issue and you've tested, the heater and the thermostats and these guys down here too, and you still aren't getting heat, which it doesn't happen very often, but it can happen. What you're going to be checking next is the actual wiring from down here to the board up there, because there could possibly be a break in the wire. It's like I said, it doesn't happen very often, but it is a possibility. If the wiring's good and all of these guys are good, then you have a problem with the board, and you need to replace that board. There's another test that you can actually do. Maybe I'll reposition you guys here a little bit to see that heater again. But what you can check too is sometimes, and this is another one, it doesn't happen very often, but I may as well cover everything while I'm here. So if the element breaks inside the actual housing, it can touch the casing of the heater. So what you're going to want to do is put your meter lead on each of the wires and check to the case. If there is a broken heater wire and it's touching the case, well, you know that it needs to go, because sometimes you can get a good resistance reading between this. So those are good checks anyway. But yeah, you shouldn't get anything on there. You shouldn't get, it should just stay out of limit. Yeah, that's about it. There's one more switch in the back of the motor here that I may as well show you. So I'll take you a little closer. Okay, so there's another switch down here. To take all the fuzz off of it. Jeez, that's nuts. Okay, so what that switch does, hopefully you can see that little tab right there. So what happens is when the belt is good, this whole idler arm should be up here, and you see it's not hitting that tab anymore, that little bottom leg there. But when the belt snaps, this comes and closes, and you hear that little click. That shuts off power to the start button. So your motor won't actually turn. You won't do, well, much of anything when you hit that start button. So you can check that guy. If for some reason you have power to the display, you hit the start button and it doesn't do anything, first thing you kind of want to do is try to spin the drum by hand. If it spins really easy, like very easy, you probably have a broken belt. So when you get inside of here, you can test that little switch and just make sure that it's okay. So you can just put your meter leads on it, have it open, and then you can close the switch, and you'll be able to tell the difference between the meter settings. But actually, let's see if we can do that. Okay, so this is the connector. I just disconnected that guy. So we're gonna have to get meter leads into here, and it's I can't show you the greatest, but I just want to kind of show you what you should be seeing. So see, that's with that switch open, so we're getting 0. And then when we close that switch, all of a sudden you'll get open. So that's how you can test that switch. It's not the easiest thing, I know, but there is a way to do it, just so you know. Okay, so I'm going to throw this thing back together, and we'll see you in a couple minutes here. Actually, I was just thinking of something real quick that I could show you guys that is really easy to explain. But to take out this heater housing, which they're pretty bad on these guys, so it's probably in the lifetime of a Samsung dryer, you're probably going to have to change the heater, I'd say at least once. So there's just a screw up front here, so you'll have to disconnect, of course, all the wiring and everything. Try to disconnect it when you have the new one kind of in place. You can go wire for wire so you don't screw up any wires, or maybe take a picture of it before you disconnect them all, because it should be done up the same way as it came out. So you take that screw out, you lift up just a little bit, because there's a tab there, and then this whole thing comes right out. So it's very easy to change these guys, but putting the new one back in, there's this little tab here. Now that has to go inside that hole first, and there's 2 little cutouts that you just feed in there. Now that line up this little tab right here with the cutout that's in this bracket underneath it, and that's it. Then you can run this screw back in, and yeah, that's the whole heater change. Not much to it. Some heaters will come as a whole unit, so you just have to, you know, take the old one out, put the new one in. Some come with the insides, just the inside parts of the heater. So there's a bunch of screws all around the outside of this guy. You just take those off, split the shell in half, and then you put your new heater, well, take your new old heater out, I guess, put the new heater in, and then put the 2 halves back together, do up all those screws, and that's about it. Very common on these guys is this little thermostat right here, this little thermal fuse. I've had to change so many of those, it's ridiculous. The rollers, rear rollers, especially that right rear roller, I don't know why it seems to be worse, but rollers we changed quite a bit. Also these idlers right here that the belt wraps around. What will happen is the belt will chew right through that idler and it'll be toast. So if it starts squealing or something like that, always check this idler to see how easy it moves. See, this guy is fairly hard to move, and that's why the belt's starting to chew into it. So that should actually be changed. And those rear rollers, I think we'll get away with just cleaning them, but yeah, look for that. Okay, so when you're putting this front bullnose, bulkhead, whatever you want to call it, back on, there is a trick. So what I do is I hook in the top parts of it, make sure that the drum is sitting on top of this lip up here, and then push in just a little bit of pressure on the bottom of this guy and turn the drum. Because basically the problem that it's having, there we go, and it'll just clip in there. The problem that it's having is the rollers that are in the front here don't want to hook under the front of the drum. So when you roll it, it causes it to roll on top of the rollers. And yeah, that's the easy way to do that. Also, there's one more thing I kind of wanted to show you too. If you're cleaning out the dryer, you can take this little duct piece off, just 2 screws. Take your lint filter out, like especially if your lint filter doesn't want to close or doesn't want to go in all the way, and you can just pull this right down and you can get into this guy. Wow, there's a lot of lint in there. So yeah, you can get right into there and clean out all that stuff that builds up inside of there. So just wanted to show you that. Okay, so yeah, that's all there is to these Samsungs. They're fairly easy machines to put back together. Just do it in reverse of what I showed you. Yeah, clean out any lint that's in there. It shouldn't be in there. There's not really a great way to keep it from linting up inside of there. I've tried different things and it doesn't seem to help. But anyway, if you guys like this video, hit that like button, subscribe button if you want to see more of these awesome videos. Yeah, just let me know in the comments what you guys want to see next, or any I guess machines that you're having problems with, and I'll try to find that machine and tackle the issue that you're having. So anyway, thanks for watching and have a great day.